Hello and welcome to Friday Beyond Spotlights, a new insightful program looking into the lives of Hong Kong's most remarkable high achievers and getting their take on the city's past, present and future.
Our focus is to connect to our audience with compelling and authentic content. We feature guests with insightful perspectives for a new generation, living in a fast-paced and constantly evolving city. So let's inspire Hong Kong for a better society.
These distinguished personalities will divulge their inspirational stories that will encourage and motivate us. So sit back and relax. Together we'll go beyond the spotlights.
Welcome to Friday Beyond Spotlights. This is Patrick Zhang, your host. I'm a proud Hong Kong businessman, entrepreneur and philanthropist. On Friday Beyond Spotlights, we invite prominent guests to share their insights on current affairs, business, innovation, and culture. Today, we're very honored to have the Honourable Mr. C.Y. Leung. C.Y. is Vice Chairman of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference and former Chief Executive of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. Welcome to Friday Beyond Spotlights, C.Y.
Hello, Patrick.
As one of the leaders of Hong Kong, you have always contributed to the success of the city. On the business side, as an international city, Hong Kong is constantly ranked as one of the world's top 10 trading hubs. What is Hong Kong's special fundamentals that would allow us to have such high trading volume?
Trade has always been as part of Hong Kong's DNA. You probably remember that somewhere around Sheung Wan district on Hong Kong Island, we have an area known as Nam Pak Hong.
Yep.
North-South trading zone, or the Hongs of Hong Kong. You're probably too young for that. But I can still remember as a young child in Hong Kong 60 years ago, that was the waterfront of Hong Kong. Now, obviously, the shoreline has been sort of pushed out. What did they do? They still do that, actually. It's trade between the north and the south of this part of the world. The north is anywhere north of Hong Kong, and that will include Guangzhou, the capital city of Guangdong province. And the south is essentially the Southeast Asia today, and the Nanyang. And they traded in everything that the two sides had to offer each other. Hong Kong bought goods that were not needed by Hong Kong locally, and Hong Kong sold goods that were not produced locally. So we had always been somewhere in the middle doing trade. And now today we call them re-export, and some of the trades actually were not re-exported via Hong Kong because the goods never touched the shores or the airport of Hong Kong. And Hong Kong does a lot of what we now call offshore trade, meaning we buy from a supplier, and the supplier would send the goods direct to the destination, which is not Hong Kong. That's offshore trade.
Neri, do you know that in 2020, Hong Kong's GDP was 2.7 trillion, but our trade volume was about 8.2 trillion?
That's amazing. Quick calculation in my head tells me that Hong Kong's trade volume is 3 times that of our GDP. So that means there must be advantages for companies to trade through Hong Kong.
Trade is still a very important sector of Hong Kong's economy, and we trade in all sorts of things. For example, we're we are the biggest buyer of Japanese foods for 13 years running, and that's a piece of official Japanese statistic.
And all these Japanese products, are they consumed locally, or they might not be?
Part is consumed locally. Hong Kong people like Japanese foods, but a larger part is actually sort of sent from Hong Kong after they arrived here to other parts of the world, particularly the mainland of China and Southeast Asia. But more interestingly, some of these quote-unquote imports of Hong Kong, of Japanese foods, never arrive in Hong Kong because they are sent direct from Japanese suppliers to the final destination.
So in many ways, I think even on the business side, some companies actually do not have operations in Hong Kong, but they trade through Hong Kong, they do their deals in Hong Kong, and they might even resolve their disputes in Hong Kong.
Exactly. Hong Kong is one of the largest, if not the largest, trading hubs of wines, grape wines. Hong Kong doesn't produce it, obviously. What we do is actually sort of sell wines for other people and buy wines for other people. And now that the Ningxia autonomous region of China is now fast becoming a major and a very good wine-producing country, Hong Kong's wine trading hub is becoming more significant and prominent.
Nuri, do you know that China is the largest grape producer in the world?
真的吗?
Just in Ningxia alone, there are several hundreds of vineyards, which is at a similar latitude as France's Bordeaux wine region.
I did not know that. Well, I'm doing my part to help the economy. Ganbei.
CY, if we then expand a little bit on our conversation to the Greater Bay Area, if we're looking at international businesses or talents, right, if they want to position themselves to take advantage of opportunities in the GBA, what advice would you give them?
Firstly, the GBA cluster of 9 cities in Guangdong province in the mainland of China, together with Hong Kong and Macau SARs, form one of the 3 major economic clusters of cities in the entire country in China. Hong Kong is a very useful base for foreign enterprises, big and small, to break into the GBA market in Guangdong province, which has a rising and pretty high buying power. Average income level in these 9 cities on the mainland are actually quite high. So, and it's very easy to establish and run a business in Hong Kong. I mean, the typical thing I say to prospective foreign companies to be based in Hong Kong is that you only need to send from your home country a young manager. You hire an assistant in Hong Kong, you hire a driver in Hong Kong, you hire a secretary in Hong Kong, and then the 4 of you could sort of cover the entire GBA cluster of cities on a daily commute basis.
I do all those jobs already. I wonder if I can cover the Greater Bay Area all by myself.
That would be great. With a low tax rate, you can contribute to Hong Kong's GDP.
So CY, the GBA area also boasts geographical advantages, right, in terms of how Hong Kong is positioned versus some of the other cities. Could you also comment from the logistical perspective what benefits we have in the GBA area?
There's been very heavy public and private investments in infrastructure in the entire GBA region. For example, the high-speed train service between Hong Kong and these cities. I mean, you're talking about half an hour coverage of most of these cities in the Guangdong province of the GBA, and also roads, tunnels, and airports, etc. And so, seriously, one could cover most of these cities on a daily commute basis, either driving or riding on the high-speed train.
Nuri, are you aware of all the recent developments in the Greater Bay Area? Have a look at this map. These 5 bridges form an A and easy connects to the area for better access.
Yeah, you know, I love how the GBA has a well-developed transportation network that connects all the cities in the region.
Yes, these roads, tunnels, and bridges in the GBA are connecting cities, people, businesses, and great minds. It's like elements coming together and creating new alloy, which is better and stronger than anything we have seen before.
What role can the GBA area play in terms of promoting overall Chinese culture, both within Hong Kong and China, as well as, of course, overseas?
Now, firstly, if you look at Hong Kong, because of the history of Hong Kong and because of the fact that we practice, so to speak, the other system within the one country two systems arrangement, we are a very good super connector, not only in terms of trade and investment, financial services, but definitely in terms of promoting cultural interchange between, I know it's quite a thing to say for a city of only 7.5 million people, but Hong Kong does have that very effective role of being the super connector also in cultural activities between, this is the punchline, the rest of China and the rest of the world.
Maritime activities is also something that our country is very focused on. Do you believe the GBA area also has a role to play in terms of promoting maritime services?
Definitely. Firstly, if we look at port activities, I mentioned Nansha is a fast rising container port. We also have the Shenzhen port in Yantian and Circle. Hong Kong has a major port as well. But Hong Kong is moving slowly away from just container port activities, meaning sort of moving boxes around, into what London, for example, as a major maritime hub. Contrasting port activities, we're now talking about sort of desk-based activities, not necessarily shore-based activities, providing services in the sale and leasing of ships, the registration of ships, the insurance of ships, the financing of ships, and all the legal services that go with the activities that I previously mentioned.
If we're talking to the aspiring young men and women of both Hong Kong and mainland, if they want to build a career in the GBA area, what advice would you give them?
Well, firstly, I very much envy the new generation. I often say to them, I could swap my life with the life of any of our youngsters in Hong Kong. Someone's in college, in secondary school, I would. Because they have the definite advantage of being young, energetic, living in Hong Kong as a vibrant city, which is part of a rising country called China. There is so much that could be done, not just for their own career development purposes, but also for forging international collaboration between China and other parts of the world.
Thank you, CY, for your comments. We're going to take a short break now.